Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Punisher 1989 version, starring Dolph Lundgren, Louis Gossett Jr., Jerian Krabbe, forgive me if I said that wrong, and Kim Miori, and directed by Mark Goldblatt. Now, I remember seeing the covers of the VHS or the DVD of this movie, and I never saw it until at least one time a few years ago, and don't remember much about it. And watching it twice for this review, I'm gonna have to see how good of a review this will be. Let's get into it. Frank Castle, played by Dolph Lundgren, breaks into a criminal's named older Frank Oz, I'll say, because his son comes in later on, and kills him after he says, when this Punisher, whoever he is, comes within 1,000 feet of him, he'll know what it means to be punished. I'm like, yeah, right, come on. The Punisher will kill your ass. I'm glad he fucking dies in the next scene. The death of Franco, the older Franco, let me say, felt very staged, even though it was the 80s, so I will forgive it for that, but it still looks fake, by all means. And this movie feels very Dolphed. And why did I say that? Because it's very Dolph Lundgren action movie cliche. That stars Mr. Lundgren. Is that a bad thing for a comic book film? I would say yes, in my mind. As the Punisher is about to kill some criminals, the Chinese Kung Fu masters are trying to take over the criminals' package of dope looked very bad. Yes, it did look bad, and we'll talk about how the rest is bad. Frank gets shot during that action sequence and leaves a knife and a pit of fire. When he does put the blade on him, that's gotta fucking hurt. It looks so fucking bad. Mr. Tanaka is not a very good villain. Why would the Punisher fight off against a woman? That don't make sense. And especially with this lady that's blondie and has all these knives on her feet. I don't know. This is driving me nuts, this movie is. The plot of kidnapping children for the Punisher to save at the end of the movie or somewhat during the movie. Why is Miss Tanaka kidnapping children? So they can get ransom for their fathers? It sounds like a Liam Neeson Taken cliche. Even though this came out in 1989 and Taken came out 20 years later. So, beat that, Taken. The action in the carnival between the Punisher and ninjas was a brutal fight, but the most brutal scene is when Miss Tanaka is torturing the Punisher and his friend, and I felt this thing is very Dolphed, like I said earlier, how he's being tortured, and he escapes by the end of it, as well as his friend. Frank tries to save some kids that Miss Tanaka captured and succeeds, and finds his partner now. And by partner, I mean Louis Gossett Jr. I didn't mind that action, but what I did mind was Frank getting arrested, but because he's the Punisher, briefly, just made no fucking sense. The final action sequence is completely dreadful, especially the cinematography was half regular colored and the other half was red by the end of that fight scene. And I thought to myself, you can't be fucking serious. I don't buy it. Franco's son is about to shoot Frank because of his father, but he doesn't because he'll wait for the future or be a better man than his father. But we'll never know that because this movie sucks. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 2.3 out of 10. This is a very Dolphed movie and it's very staged, and the acting here is absolutely fucking terrible. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they'll do next week with The Punisher 2004 versus Punisher Warzone, because this thing is just garbage. And I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for the 1989 review of The Punisher, and I will be back next week for 2004, and until next time, the guilty will be punished.